The Soweto Theatre is excited to announce that the Red Theatre will be renamed Gibson Kente Theatre. The historic renaming ceremony will be held at the Soweto Theatre on the 26th of February. It will consist of an inaugural annual Gibson Kente lecture and Gibson Kente-curated gallery that's dedicated to the memory of this prolific playwright. To share more on the renaming of this theatre, we're now joined by Joburg Theatre Artistic Director James Ngcobo. It's always a pleasure having you join us this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Bless you. I always love coming here.
Good to see you, man.
Thank you.
All right, first of all, how did you come to the decision of renaming the theatre?
The most beautiful thing is that the city, the legislature of Joburg, made up of different parties, got into a very in-depth discussion about this renaming. And so the idea of this consensus that came from all parties is just absolutely amazing. It was pitched by the management of the Joburg City Theatres, and everybody just embraced it.
Yes.
And you understand why it was embraced. I mean, Gibson Kente is you just don't know where to start, about Gibson Kente, because, I was saying the other day to a colleague of mine that it would be very difficult to find a TV series in this country on right now that doesn't have either in production or in acting or in any other area a person who was touched by Gibson Kente. He
had a tentacle and a hand in every creative space.
I never got to work with Prakip, but I've worked with so many people who worked with Prakip. The generosity they speak about, the tenacity they speak about, the passion that the man had, and the indelible mark that he left on all the people that got to work with him, and a sense of discipline. A lot of people that worked with Gibson Kente, they understand that a career is not an extension of your coolness. It is something that you absolutely work on. And so it is with just such warmth and excitement for us, from our CEO, Ms. Xoliso Nduneni-Ngema, to all the EXCO team, that we are able to be the custodians of this change, to take to be responsible with this new landscape that is happening at Soweto Theatre. And I've been at it directing. I'm working with an orchestra from Soweto with young people, and I must tell you something, I just sit there and my heart just goes with a big smile, looking at 16, 17-year-olds holding cellos with a musical score and playing Prakip. One of the little ones said to me, "I can see." And I said, "That's it, my darling," because the continuum of his work with the young people is a dream of every composer. And
what does a name change come with, though? Does it come with major changes?
Yes, we sat as EXCO team and had to design the aesthetic, change the signage. And with one of the things, if you go to Soweto Theatre, that you will see we've gifted Prakip. The Soweto Theatre is going to have a thing that no other theatre has in this country. We've built a gallery that is dedicated to Gibson Kente, that has every production he ever made and some unseen photo. It is absolutely amazing. You will see it will start really going public from tomorrow. And then this lecture, which also to take Gibson Kente and put him in that academic space. We are busy now talking to a couple of professors that every year we're going to have this annual lecture dedicated to Prakip. And the other thing, I've met in the last 4 years, maybe 2 young people who are studying, doing their masters, and they say to me, "I'm doing my thesis on Gibson Kente."
What?
So that just sees Prakip just transcending the space of just being on stage. Yes. Young people are writing papers that are going into the public domain, that the future generations will be able to draw, and when doing research and look at the footprints that a great man like Gibson Kente left behind.
And I see that it is really a reincarnation of Gibson Kente in so many different forms, especially in the creative space. So what do you have planned to celebrate this reincarnation?
Yeah, well, we're starting with this launch tomorrow, but we are definitely looking at producing one of his amazing plays called Iskalo.
Okay.
Yeah, to see just this cohort of young actors
Yes.
taking that work. So that is the first piece that we're looking, and to have also a sense that almost biannually the theatre produces a Gibson Kente. So you have an annual lecture, and biannually you're able to look at this work, and it's going to challenge us to just dream of what can we do in honor of Prakeep and bring him. I always say, people like Gibson Kente, we must not look at them as relics from the past. Sometimes you get people who say, "Oh, his work can only be staged that way." I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? Take Prakeep, bring him into the now, and produce work that speak to people that are watching that work with contemporary eyes. And that is how you take a writer. It's a phenomenon you find all over the world. That is how you take a writer who wrote at a certain time and make sure that you usher them into the new era by being brave in how you produce their work.
And having said that, Bra James, how are you hoping that this theatre will continue upholding his principles?
We're hoping very strongly that it will, and also what it's going to do for us is Sowetans have embraced this poetry from Duncan village in the Eastern Cape. Yes. Prakeep was born in East London, he died as Soweto. There is an ownership that they have. So his legacy comes into the space, and us who work there, we will break our backs to make sure that his principles, and his drive, and what was his ethos is something that is a pivot of all our thinking around what we are wanting to do with him.
Let's talk about the lecture then, the inaugural lecture. It'll be an annual lecture, right?
Yes.
So what's set to happen today?
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I mean.
Yeah. Tomorrow then we've decided to just dissect it into two because of the fact that we're launching it. And I sat with the team and just spoke about the elements that will be there. We've brought tomorrow, and we have Peter Sepuma, who's going to tell a story of what it felt like to be in a rehearsal room and be directed by Gibson Kente. He played Scarlo way back then, one of our finest actors, and who's now a producer, a director, who learned from Prakeep. And then we've got a young lady called Sibusisiwe Kukumanqele, who's doing her masters through the Mellon Foundation. Never met Gibson Kente, has never been on any of his works, but she has met him through the writings. She's been able to pick him up. So she's going to speak as a young writer today about the pertinence of Gibson Kente, about what does he mean to writing, and what has he inspired that is part of the writing landscape today.
Wow.
And what I also mentioned is a thing that I've been saying to my teammates at work, that we're calling it a commitment to society. So we could have a lecture, because we could have a lecture about Gibson Kente done by a paleontologist, a pediatrician. It's about anyone who has a commitment to society, because beyond plays, Prakeep was committed to creating a visibility of the narrative that was then at the time seen as black theatre. And he committed. He could have gone and worked on Broadway, but he sat here and committed. So we all know when we were growing up, there was always a thing where you were told that doctor has been around this community forever. A doctor who could have gone and I love the thing of the commitment to society, because one of the things we need to get away from is a sense of waiting for somebody from somewhere to do things for us. We need to have an ownership and I do a lot of mentorship to young people and just say to him, don't wait for some messiah to come from some. Be the messiah. Start something.
Unfortunately, Bra James, thank you so much for joining us. We are out of time. I'm having goosebumps already, just basking in the glory and the majesty of his legacy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Blessed.
Great stuff. Well, the theatre giant will be honoured with the renaming of the Soweto Theatre as the Red Theatre to Gibson Kente Theatre.